Hello! Today is a very special day because today marks a first for the channel. For the first time ever, I am reviewing a book written by a fellow booktuber. A lot of booktubers write books. It's usually fantasy or sci-fi or romance. Very few try to jump into contemporary fiction. And I'm not gonna lie, I had very low hopes for this book. But I was pleasantly surprised, and it's one of my favorite short reads of the year. The book I'm talking about is Fumes by William Dozier. I've been subscribed to Dozier's channel for several months now, and we have different tastes in books. He likes classics and contemporary fiction. I like fantasy, sci-fi, and the occasional slice of life. But I really appreciate his eye and what he notices about reads and what he focuses on. And so when I heard that he wrote a book and that it was a novella, I couldn't pass it up. William Dozier impressed me immensely with Fumes because he was able to pull off a very minimalistic, very Ernest Hemingway-esque or Cormac McCarthy-esque writing style. And what I mean by that is he very much uses the power of absence to create a picture. Because music is not just the beats you hear, it's the silences between the beats. And the iceberg theory of writing kind of states that the reader sees very little of the story. We see what the author writes on paper. But what happens between the lines, what we can infer and deduce as adults reading a work of fiction, also paints a picture. So the minimalist writing style in Fumes could be jarring. And I think a few years ago I may not have been able to appreciate it as well as I do now. But it was just something done in a very masterful way. And the fact that he was able to pull this off in his debut book was just incredibly impressive indeed. The minimalist writing style presents some pretty unique and difficult problems that the author has to solve when it comes to characterization. As the reader, I am not privy to all the details and character traits of the characters in Fumes. And that's okay. The narrative does not suffer from it because I'm an adult with life experiences. I know characters that act like Kelly. I know characters that act like Tasha. I know characters that act like Charlie. And I'm able to deduce and infer what type of people say and do these types of things. And Dozier pulling that off and making me love for these characters and feel empathy for these characters despite knowing that much about them is impressive indeed. I'm a sucker for a good tragedy. A lot of people are. And tragedies are super compelling because we can see the inevitability of certain outcomes. The characters cannot because they are experiencing it. And we are able to deduce and infer because of things that are happening in these characters' past, that are happening inside their minds, that they are on a collision course with tragedy. And Fumes very much is a tragedy. It is about tragic characters being put into bad situations and trying to navigate it. And because they're flawed individuals, they don't do the best job. I believe in present day, determinism is very popular. A lot of people don't want to admit that they have agency. Your past determines your future. Your traumas determine your coping mechanisms. The way you were parented determines the adult you become. And I don't agree with that because I do think the past influences you. But I do not think your past traumas or the bad things that have happened in your past determine and direct where you go in life. They do divert you a little bit. They do have an influence on you. Your past and your traumas do have a sort of gravitational like pull. Like if you run downhill, the longer you run downhill, the harder it is to stop. And bad things that happen in your past are very hard to escape. But a very special individual can escape their tragic backstory. And that's one thing that's very compelling about Fumes is because these are all people trying to do the best thing for them. They're aware of the generational things they're trying to escape, of their traumas, of their abuse, of the bad things that have happened in their life. And they're doing their best to escape that. So it's very easy to feel empathy for the characters in Fumes. Nobody wants to become a tragic hero. It is a role you settle for. Nobody wants to have traumas in their past. Nobody wants to have a rough childhood. Nobody wants their parents to get divorced, to be addicted to drugs, to raise them up in a toxic environment that requires you to fight for survival. But that's what makes a tragic hero so compelling. They are individuals who are trying to go against the flow of like their past, to go against the flows of their traumas, and to kind of direct their future. Dozier does a very good job at contrasting characters who have given in to their past and characters who are trying to escape their past. And it's very compelling because all these characters are intertwined and intermingled in like this family feud, in this past that is ugly and conflicted, and there's not any clear good or bad. I'm not gonna lie. When I first finished Fumes, the climax really bugged me. I did not enjoy the resolution of this story at first. But then I fell asleep, I slept on it, I woke up, and I started meditating on the ending of this book. And it was just so realistic and very much in line with the tone and themes of this read. And despite the tragic nature and tragic subject matter of Fumes, there was some hopeful things towards the end that caught my eye. In the real world, you do not get the resolution you deserve, you do not get the resolution you desire, you get the resolution you earned. And Dozier pulled that off skillfully. In conclusion, my favorite character, Tasha. My favorite passage, let me read it to you. She could take it. God would be with her and could be trusted. She knew now why so many before her had been so faithful. She had been born into faith and would die with it, and her faith was in God's silence, in knowing the mysteries which others insisted had answers were in fact unsolvable. She thought now of the irreversible passage from her thoughts and feelings into silence, and it occurred to her that there was no way to know if death would be as quiet as God. Until this reckoning on this drive, she had assumed death would be quiet too. Very thought-provoking read. I definitely think you should give it a try. William Dozier has given me hope for what other booktubers are able to accomplish when it comes to writing books. Thank you guys for watching this book review video. If you liked it, push the thumbs up icon, subscribe to my channel, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next time.